Welcome back to my ASMR channel. If you're new here, a very, very warm welcome to you as well. I'm going to film this with my iPhone. I usually film with my Blue Yeti microphone, so this is a little different. And it will allow me to just get around to show you the shelves. I'll do an overview of everything here, and then I will kind of get into the details of the shelves. So, just to speak of the shelves themselves, a lot of the furniture in my house is secondhand, either handed down antiques or things that we've picked up at markets, antique markets. But these shelves fit this area here in my dining room. And they are the IKEA Billies. So they just fit this wall perfectly. My dream is to have a carpenter actually build floor to ceiling shelves. That would be wonderful. But these are pretty good. They do the job. One other comment is that we just moved about 6 months ago, so these aren't fully organized. So I thought it would be fun to show you what I've got going now. I do have some books still in boxes that I need to unpack. But I will, do an updated version of this a little later in the year, probably a year from now. Let's just do an overview of what I've got here. So in these two, I have poetry books. Yeah, all of those and all of those. And I'll open these doors. You can see right there. I'll open those doors and get into there in a minute. And then we've got fiction. A few favorites in there. And then more fiction. And getting into what is down there. I think more, some biographies. Up here, these two shelves are not that organized. So I do have to shelve these, reshelve. But both of these are fiction. This is fiction. These two down here are cookbooks, and I never ever include cookbooks with my fiction and nonfiction. But we haven't set up our kitchen bookshelves yet, so all those as well. At the bottom, I have some work books that I've worked on. Up here, I have all of my writing craft books, along with a couple of dictionaries. You can see the French dictionary, but again, we'll get into that in a minute. Here's some more fiction in this one. And down here, more fiction. And more fiction. Fiction right down to the ground. So we'll start in the center, work our way up, then down, and then into the shelves with glass doors. So if you have watched any of my desk setup videos, these teapots that sometimes make appearances are displayed in the center here. We've got one there, and one there, and one up there. That's not a teapot, but I'll show you what it is. And I've got a little bird here. It's really cute. And back there, a plant. So let's look at these books first. There's a little house with a candle. So let's get into some of these books. I'll read the titles. This is a recent read called The Capital of Dreams. And this is by Heather O'Neill, and you'll see a lot of her work on my shelves. This is a gorgeous book. I highly recommend it. I've got, this is something I got recently. I think it's, let's see. And it's a poetry book called The Moon That Turns You Back. There's the author's name right there. This is a new to me poet, so I'm really excited to read that. I've got 2 nature books right here. This one is called Our Green Heart, and this one is called The Serviceberry by Robin Wall Kimmerer, and she's the author of Braiding Sweetgrass, if you've read that. 2 more poetry books. You see, this is what I mean by this is a little bit disorganized. Like I need to shelve these and rearrange some things here. So these 2 poetry books will go up there to my poetry shelves. Got this one here. Vile Bodies. We've got Pachinko here. Pachinko. I'm going to show you the cover of this beauty. Okay. Let me see. Pachinko. Which won the National Book. Oh, it was a National Book Award finalist. And I have, by Ursula Le Guin, I have The Eye of the Heron. This is a really old version. You can see that. And we've got, this one is The God of Small Things. If you've read any of these books, let me know. We've got My Brilliant Friend here. I don't love the cover of this one, but this is a beautiful book. And Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead. And Bad Cree, The Theory of Crows here. I haven't read this. I'm really excited to read this one. These 3 are new. So we've got Our Evenings here. All Fours by Miranda July. And The 7 Moons of Mali Almeida. So I have not yet read these 3 here. Very excited. I've heard really good things about All Fours. Okay, so I'll just move this little guy back here. Let's move up here and look at what I've got here. Again, just a mishmash of things I need to organize a little more. So we've got, oh, and here's my teapot. I'm going to move this house over here. We've got breasts and eggs. I was was kind of of two minds. I did enjoy it. I could do a video about this actually. Do a little review of this one. I liked it. It was very slow moving, but it's a good book if you're in that sort of mood. And this one is called Our Homesick Songs by Canadian author Emma Hooper. I have another book by her that I'll show you that's one of my favorite books ever. I loved this one. I liked it a lot. But I love her other book more. This is a really short book called 15 Dogs. It won the Giller Prize. Did it win the Giller Prize or was it a finalist? It's a finalist, not the winner. This is by Andre Alexis, and it's really interesting. It's philosophical, and it really is a different take on the lives of dogs. We've got Fight Night. This one is by Miriam Daves. She's written a lot of really good books. And she's a Canadian author as well. I'll show you some more of her books as we go along. This one has a protagonist who is a young child. And here we have The Kite Runner. I love this book here. I think this is really well known in Canada, but I wonder if Americans or people around the world know this one as much as we do here in Canada. The Sleeping Car Porter, really interesting, dreamy book, historical, and a winner of the Giller Prize. Here we have Indian Horse. This is a heartbreaking, beautifully written book by Richard Wagamis. And then just randomly Night Circus. As you can see, these kind of don't go together, but Circe. This one's called Aria. This was, I had really high hopes for this, and I didn't love it as much as I wanted to, though I loved the subject matter. I did like the story. I liked it. And then we've got Salvage the Bones here. And this is Margaret Atwood. Moral Disorder. I don't think that this is as well known to most as some of her other books are. This is a good book. Dual Citizens. Okay, so I'll just scan this up here, okay? We've got Girlfriend on Mars, kind of stepping out of my usual genre, I think. Moon of the Crusted Snow. This is, I think this is like Pink Floyd. So I have to put that down in the music section. And we have Virginia Woolf's Orlando. I need to put that in my classic literature section. Some Mary Oliver, Ray Bradbury, The October Country, here's Johnny Appleseed, Birdie, Milkman. Have you read this one? I got this recently from a secondhand bookshop, so I'm excited to look at that one. I wonder if I could just zone in here for a minute. There we go. So I can talk to you back here. yeah, so we've got Matrix and The Overstory, A Beautiful Book, Ring, Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury, Study for Obedience, and yeah, you can see the titles here, The Beautiful and the Damned. These were in my last video, one of my last videos. Got Beloved by Toni Morrison and The Memory Police. Okay, so just going down here now. Here are the cookbooks. I won't spend too much time here because I don't usually have these on my bookshelves. So these are all my cookbooks, and then some music books that need to go in the music section, which I'll show you. Let's head over to these shelves. And I'm just opening the door here. As you can see, we're inside now. We're inside. Okay, so I wonder, I'm going to back up the camera. Like I said, this is not usually how I do my videos, so just using my iPhone here, I'm going to back it up. There we go. So poetry up here and down here. I think what I'll do is just show you some highlights here. Let's see. Well, the Odyssey and the Iliad here, because they are poetry. This is a really, really beautiful collection of poems. Poetry Unbound, 50 Poems to Open Your World by Patrick Otuama. And he is a poet himself, and he has a podcast. I think it's called Poetry Unbound. So he has this wonderful poetry podcast. I absolutely love it and highly recommend it. It is for poetry lovers, but it's for poetry newcomers alike, because he's just so accessible. And the way that he explores poems and talks about them, just the way he analyzes them, really, really helps you to see them from all kinds of angles. And what he does is he shares some of his own thoughts on the poem. He reads the poem. This is on the podcast, and he starts out by reading a poem, sharing his thoughts, and then he reads the poem again. In this book, it's sort of set up the same way, but it's... Look at all my flags. See, I only have one hand here. Yeah, I can't really open this, but it will, start with a little comment unrelated to the poem that's to come. Just some forethought from his own life. And then he shares a poem. There it is on that side. And then he talks about it. And it's just so beautiful. I find that his commentary can be almost as beautiful as the poems. So I highly recommend this book and the podcast. And getting this back in here is going to be a little tricky. Stay. Okay, so I'm going to slip this in here. What else have we got? How about this by Sylvia Plath, Ariel. I love this physical book. Like, it's has such a nice texture to it. It's like this inside. Okay, let's see here. What else should I say? I've got a lot of Mary Oliver. of accessible poetry. And I've got some really old poetry, such as Percy Shelley's selected poems here, which is, this is Mary Shelley's husband, and Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein, as you know. This book, Emily Dickinson, was in one of my videos where I did a soft study of her work. I do have a lot of modern poets in here as well, such as this one here, Victoria Chang. She calls this collection Obit, and interestingly, she has structured all the poems as obituaries, and the obituaries are written a lot of them toward objects, and it's about losing a parent, but also losing a lot of, objects and things and emotions and things like that she lost along with losing the parent. Let's see here. What else can I show you? Here's Dog Songs by Mary Oliver. And then I'm trying to find some more like modern poets here. I have Terence Hayes. A lot of people. This one in a word, yeah. Who else do we have here? This is Louise Gluck. And up here, got some Leonard Cohen here. Robert Frost. These books were featured in some of my videos. I've got some verse novels here. I thought I should keep them in my poetry section. So these are like, some of them are for kids, but I love verse novels. So for example, this is a novel by Jacqueline Woodson called Brown Girl Dreaming. It's won a lot of awards. I love this. Like, it is a story told through poems. Same with Poet X. All of these ones from here on. We've got All the Odes, Pablo Neruda. We've got this anthology. You can see what's up here. Some French. I did some short stories in this little section here. Yeah, I could go on and on and on about my poetry shelves. I love them. And by the way, I've lived a long time, so one of the things I can share is that I have donated a lot of books. A shelving unit of this size times 2. I've donated full bookshelf 2 times to libraries. I receive a lot of books as gifts. I get as many books as possible from secondhand shops and library sales. But I also work in publishing, so I like to think it's part of my job, and that's my excuse for having such a large collection. Is it an addiction or a collection? I think it's both. So getting into some of my favorites in here, you can see The Secret History and The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. I'll work my way back and then forward again. Prophet's Song. I haven't actually read this one yet. I said I was going to, and something else stole my attention. Here's All My Puny Sorrows. This is beautiful. It was made into a movie. All My Puny Sorrows. Here's the book that I was talking about by the author Emma Hooper. I have one of her other books over there. I love this book so much. It's a little experimental in format, but not in storytelling. It's quite accessible in storytelling. It has a little magical realism in here. Etta and Otto and Russell and James. This is a couple. And it's actually, Etta is the protagonist, I would say. And she is an elderly woman. This is her husband. We go back in time and look at their life when they were just starting out, when he was in the war. And Russell is a neighbor. And James is this wolf. It's a beautiful story about a woman following a dream, and she is up against dementia. So it's a really interesting story and a really interesting way to tell a story. The structure of it. We have Us Conductors, which is a Canadian award-winning book. I'm not sure if a lot of people know this book. It's about a theremin, which is a really unique instrument. And you can see this woman on the cover is playing the theremin. I like this book cover, it's cool. And then we have Margaret Atwood. You can see the title here. And All's Well, a favorite by Mona Awad. And then we've got Do Not Say We Have Nothing by Madeline Vine. And coming back over here, I've got some more Heather O'Neill's in here. When We Lost Our Heads, highly, highly recommended. The Lonely Hearts Hotel, highly recommended. The Girl Who Was Saturday Night. And here's another, Lullabies for Little Criminals by Heather O'Neill. And somehow this got between them because I probably pulled it out and stuck it back in. Again, another award-winning book by Canadian author Omar El-Akkad. It's called What Strange Paradise. Looks at refugees who arrive on the shores of somewhere in Greece, can't remember exactly where, and about the tourists that are there and the kind of tensions between those two realities. And it's told through the eyes of some children. If I remember correctly, there are some children who play major parts in this book. We've got Piranesi by Susan Clark. This is Susanna Clark. This is like, I think it's fantasy, and that's not a genre I usually read, but I did enjoy this. It reminded me of, in a way, if you've ever read Plato, like Socrates, and you've ever read the analogy of the cave, Plato's cave, something about this reminded me of that. We've got The Handmaid's Tale. See, if I were organized, I would put all my Margaret Atwoods together, but I'm not there yet because, as I said, we are still working on unpacking. Here's My Year of Rest and Relaxation. And here's The Factory by Hiroko Oyamada. This was an interesting little book. Not my favorite read, but a captivating concept. And if you've read any Kafka, it kind of has like existential vibes to it. Blaze Island is a dystopian climate change book. Flights. Empire of Wild. I loved this book. Canadian author Sherry DeMaline. I'm not sure how you pronounce her name. This is another Canadian book called Wait Softly, Brother. And then we have another Canadian author. This is a classic called The White Bone. Barbara Gowdy. I can barely remember this. About some elephants. And there's like a language in here. I don't want to say too much about this because I can barely remember this, but there's like, what is this? I think this is like a glossary of terms. They have their own language. And then there's like a map, like a family tree of the elephants, their family lines here. That's a cool book. Getting into this area here, some of these books belong to my partner, so you're gonna see a lot more sci-fi. This one's mine. I love this book. It's a cute read. I wish I could like spend more time with each book, but the video would be like 10 hours long. So we've got Mouse here. That's my partner's. Stephen King is my partner's book. Here's Rouge by Mona Awad. I just mentioned how much I loved this book. This book, I had high hopes for this. Read it recently and did not love it as much as this, but I read it all the way through. I liked it. This is one I'm going to give away because this guy kind of appropriated indigenous culture in this book. I found out later. We've got American Gods. Some more. Is this sci-fi? These are my partners. This is mine. Margaret Atwood. These three. This is a beautiful book, Half-Blood Blues. This is a beautiful little book too. Obasan by Joy Kogawa. Okay. Getting down here, this shelf is mostly my partner's. There's a lot of Stephen King. There's some spirituality books in here like I Ching and the healing something of Chi, and a lot of graphic novels and things like that in here. And these ones here belong to my kid who is a young adult. So these were some of their books from university. We've got the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. And some music books down here that are, for example, this is a Surrender, biography of Bono's life. David Grohl, Geddy Lee. These all belong to my partner. But other music books down here. I have some really cool art in here that I can show sometime. And some more music books. Okay, so we covered this entire shelf here. And I'm going to show you what is down here. These are some writing craft books and editing books. And we've got some of my favorites in here because they are classics, such as I Capture the Castle and The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. We've got Wuthering Heights here. The Green Gables collection. And Frankenstein. I love this book. This is one of my favorite novels ever. The Scarlet Letter. I love that book too. Got John Steinbeck here, Of Mice and Men. And Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I love this book. A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. Okay, I'm going to close up here so you can see the titles. This one is Alice in Wonderland. And then we've got Great Expectations, Melville's short novels, and 1984, Heart of Darkness. I love this book. The Heart of Darkness. I read this so many times in university. I did several essays on that. And Earthsea. Let's see. The Time Machine. Yeah, so these are all classics, I think. Here. That's the Nutcracker. Here's a book called The Picture of Dorian Gray. Can't see it in this light, but I showed you this in my novel study of this book in a previous video. Here is To Kill a Mockingbird. It's a CD set that we listened to on a road trip. Pride and Prejudice is here. 1984. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Jane Eyre. There's Harper Lee's Go Set a Watchman that I never did read. And two kind of like anthology type books there. Renaissance literature. This is the Broadway Introduction to Literature. Those are my grown kids books. We've got 100 Years of Solitude. Their Eyes Were Watching God. I have another copy of this in a box. I got this because I have a soft cover. This is the hard cover, and I just really liked this edition. We've got The Autobiography of My Mother by Jamaica Kincaid. Here's the novel that goes with the CD set. The Book Thief. So here, getting into some more disorganization. I've got some young adult and children's books in here. So A Wrinkle in Time, The Book Thief, The Wind in the Willows. Yeah, these are children's books, like middle grade novels. the ever popular young adult novel, The Fault in Our Stars. This is a beautiful middle grade novel, Pax. And The Underneath by Kathy Appelt. I recommend all of these, whether you like to read young adult novels yourself, children's novels, or if you have a young person in your life. These are like 2000s, 2010s, some of these, I guess. Some more Margaret Atwood here. Where the Crawdads Sing. These are like popular fiction, I would say, like Daisy Jones and the Six, The Miniaturist, Summer Hours in the Robber's Library. And if you can see these titles over here. All of this is my nonfiction. We've got some biographies. This is Aretha Franklin's biography. And Cultish is a good one. This is a classic, Ways of Seeing by John Berger. Breeding Sweetgrass, Musicophilia. And Learning to See about the photographer. Beautiful. Now, getting down here into some of my kids' books that were left here that, some of them are mine actually, so I do like to read contemporary young adult novels from time to time. So this one's Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. A beautiful novel. Bone Cap. And The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender. Those three were like my favorite young adult books, I think, during the 2010s. And then we've got more John Green in here. Fangirl, Cinder, if you like this sort of thing. And then more children's books down here. So I'm hoping to get these ones into another shelf somewhere else in the house so that I can unpack some of my other books and get a little more organized here. I hope you enjoyed this bookshelf tour. It, like I said, is a little disorganized, but at the same time, I think we're doing okay, having just moved 6 months ago and unpacking an entire house. If you've reached the end of this video and you want to leave a comment and share any of the books that you've seen here, that you've read, or that you want to read, I would love to hear about it. Until next